But what did you get out of it? What did you get out of what you accomplished reading it? Did you get, they said, it's in the Bible, and all you're getting to get understanding, you know. Um, uh, I'm going to give you the gist of a whole lot of stuff because I'm going to tell you in the way stuff is worded, especially in the King James, and that's what I use sometimes. Um, just to put it in the words and how I receive it. That's how I'm going to speak. A lot of times you just don't realize you're reading the Bible, but the thing is, what are you getting out of it? What are you getting out of it? Are you leading the life that you're supposed to lead? Are you worshiping the Lord thy God? Do you believe that Jesus is his son, that he came back and gave his life so that you may have a chance at everlasting life instead of death? So I was just thinking a lot of times that's what we go to church, and I know when I was younger, the pastor really didn't dab into a whole lot of the Bible, as big as the Bible is, and then you think about how the Bible is written, how it is written. It is so much in it, but they talked about David. They talked about Solomon. They talked about Joseph and Mary. They talked about Jesus. They talked about the Last Supper. They talked about those type things. Um, and and really, come to think of it, it's not a whole lot that they talked about past those things, except for Job and Job's patience and what he had gone through in life. But it's so much more, starting at the beginning, because we had asked our pastor, about traveling through the Bible, just taking our time, going through it, chapter and verse, not skipping anything, doing that. And we've been doing that for a couple of years, and right now we're still in, I think it's Second Samuel. But the reason that we are just in that little part is because we're finding out occurrences that, uh, honestly, some of those occurrences I never even heard of, or even, um, we knew that I knew that the name Deborah was from the Bible, but I never knew that Deborah was a judge. She was a female judge. Okay. Um, you find out about, we knew that Saul was the first king appointed by God. I don't know that people realize the king Saul was a coward, and the reason that he was appointed because the people wanted him. I knew that. I was like, well, why was he a king? Because why did they need a king after they had been delivered through all the wilderness and came to the promised land? You had to wait 40 years before all these things happened. But yet and still, that was what they wanted. Just like the world is like, everybody else has this, so I want this too. Everybody else had a king, so they wanted a king too. Saul was handsome. He was tall. He looked strong. He was a coward. God had the man of God to go anoint Jesse's son, David, who was a little boy, teenager, teenager. But he had so much courage. David is the one that defeated Goliath while Saul was king. It's just so much in the Bible, starting out in Genesis. Pastor it was doing Bible study, and we was having Bible study, and Pastor said, "Did y'all realize that God named them both Adam? That Adam was actually the one to name Eve, and she was called woman because she was taken from Adam's body. I knew that part, but some of the other stuff, it's just so simple. But we're so quick to want to get just get something done. And some of the times in our Bible study, we take the time because some of it we found out that was written and it was a mistake. Like when Amnon, they said that Amnon was outside of the gates. Uh, um, Not Amnon. What is it? Absalom, I think is Amnon was the one that raped his half sister, who was Absalom's sister, and his whole full blooded sister, and her name was Tamar. Okay, so Absalom was David's son. That's another thing. I don't think that people realize that David was not a disciplinarian. His children were wilding out. When you think about it, it was kind of the same situation with Job. Job prayed for his kids, and he covered them, but they were grown. They were supposed to be doing what they were supposed to be doing, not going on the glory, not the well, on the holiness that their father had. Okay, a lot of our kids do the same thing. But what I really wanted to discuss and let people know, I mean, it's not a discussion because this is recorded and y'all can talk back to me. But y'all can, if you wanted to send a message and say whatever you want to say about it, it's up to you. But what I really wanted to get to is time has really always been out for you just going by the man or woman of God's preaching and just going by that and not finding out for yourself. It has always been that you needed to read the Bible for yourself and get some understanding of what you're reading. Not just as a pastime, not just for recreation. And that's another thing too. Oh Lord, I know I'm touching on so much, but you need to stop going to church for recreation and entertainment. I truly believe that Joel Osteen is going to have to find out that it can't just be flowers, unicorns, and cotton candy all the time. I understand that may be your personality, but you have to give the people all of the word. You cannot dissect and take out what you want. You have to eat the bread, the whole loaf. Think about communion. That's another thing. I don't even know if people realize what communion is all about. And I've been hearing people talk about the fact that that's cannibalism. If you drink real blood, that is true. But you're talking about cannibalism, but God told us not to ingest anything with blood in it. But y'all quick to eat stuff like blood sausage, rare steaks, and things of that nature. So stop picking and choosing and trying to cut up and dissect the Bible. Get into Him, accept Him for who He is, and then maybe you will be able to get an understanding of what the Word is trying to tell you. It is not contradictory. That's another thing I keep hearing about the Word being contradictory. Let me tell you something. Some of these meanings have more than one meaning. If you can read the dictionaries, which are written by men, that's another thing. You talk about the Bible being written by men, but everything was written after the word that was given. It is not. Now this is revelation knowledge that people received, and direct knowledge that people received from God, that the word was written. And you say it's contradictory, especially in the New Testament. Those were men of God, and each one of them that talked about what they saw in their walk with Jesus, some words are maybe missing, but all of them are saying the same thing. Um, it is not a contradiction. You got to understand that it is possible to be bold and to be humble at the same time. Also, in my Bible study, which was apart from the regular weekly Bible study, some Bible study you get on just from your church, but then you have to get a Bible study every day. He said, "Give us this day our daily bread." That is what you reading the word is, and for at least an hour. And some of it, I found out that I had never realized or heard of before, was how God was saying, no liars, no cowards, no people that are teaching false doctrine. I already knew about the false doctrine, but he said liars and cowards. Now, all of us have had our moments, if we're honest, where we weren't the bravest people and we didn't tell the full truth, because admission, addition, and just all out lying is all a lie. All of that is a lie. All of that is a whole lie. So we have all had our instances where we were not the bravest person, or we didn't tell the truth as the truth should be told. So it's my belief in him saying those two parts. Now, like I said, he talked about a whole lot of different aspects of us being in this flesh that would keep us out of heaven. But those two situations, and I'm sure all the others, is about repentance. Because you may have said, done, or thought something that was against the word of God, and and left a awful fragrance in his nostrils. But you repenting with a sincere heart is what I believe. Um, he gives us forgiveness with a sincere heart. This is what I'm going back to the young man at Pelham uh, Church of the Highlands. I really believe that's what he was going there for. I really believe that's what he was going there for, because of whatever part that he had played in the fact that somebody ended up dead, whether he actually did it or he wasn't um, personally responsible for the person dying, but he was there. He may have known the intent, whether it was a robbery and the person had a heart attack, whatever the situation may have been, or the person was hurt and later died. I don't know. Whatever the situation is, I really believe he had a change of heart, or it could have been that he just felt the presence of God and was talking to God. He may have even wanted, for whatever reason, in my spirit, it's like I believe he wanted to be baptized and forgiven of his sins. But even though this young man, whatever his outcome may be in the trials or what have you, he still has an opportunity to get it right. Whether he is free from being in a jail cell or whether he is in a jail cell, there's freedom and liberty in Jesus Christ. There are tales in the Bible that uh, a lot of people witness, you know, miraculous things happening in prison. Joseph had a whole situation, Joseph, the coat of many colors. You're gonna have to see. I love the Bible. The Bible has that is the it's It's so many stories. It's stories of romance, it's espionage, um, uh, infidelity, uh, um, adultery, uh, murder. Uh, it's everything in the Bible. And the stories of it are, it's like, wow. I don't see how anybody can be bored from reading the Bible if you read it with the intent of getting knowledge and wisdom from the Word. So I know this has been long. Matter of fact, it broke up a couple of times. But anyway, I just wanted to say with those two situations with churches, um, it's a reason for things happening the way they happen. Uh, uh, I don't know Joel Osteen. I never met him in life. I do have a problem with the fact that you just give uh, good feeling messages. He just give good feeling messages. Sometimes we have to be chastised. The 23rd Psalm, it says, thy rod and thy staff comfort me. That's a part of the 23rd Psalm. What people don't know about that part of that, thy rod and thy staff. The rod is the rod of correction. We know about the rod of correction because we talk about the rod of correction when we talk about disciplining our kids. The shepherd, the good shepherd, taps, you know, I don't know whatever intensity, but enough intensity, enough pressure to get the sheep's attention if it's going doing something that it shouldn't be doing. It's, and the staff, that's what has the hook, what we know as the shepherd's hook on the end. That's to get the sheep neck and lead it in the right direction. So, by Joel Osteen just telling the good and the good feeling messages is not enough. It's not enough. We need to be chastised sometime in order for us to get in the right position. It's Jesus didn't have just all good times. He was persecuted by his own. There was a whole lot going on. So that's my issue with him. He gonna have to take it up with God. I mean, I'm not judging. I'm just saying that's my personal issue. He's got too many followers to just leave it at that. You gotta give more than just a good feel message. And the situation with the Church of the Highlands, I have my opinion, and people can say what they want to say. It's not just the Church of the Highlands. I mean, that's just the one here. But those churches, why is it okay to serve and sell pastries and coffee and all these different things? Um, I have my issue about selling plates too. You are turning God's temple into a den of iniquity. When Jesus saw all that going on in the temple, the selling of the doves and all the other things that were being sold in the temple. It was like a circus, like you have all those vendors outside of the circus, outside of the concerts and things like that. When they're getting your attention and selling you something, but what you're there for is the main attraction. So you don't have to stop and get none of that stuff. What you need is the main attraction. So, but this child knew he needed God, is what I truly believe. But Let's give folks God. Let's give folks God. Stop looking at the way they look. Stop looking at the way they dress. Start showing them in the way you treat people. Stop being so judgmental. I don't know why people think that Jesus, why was it okay for him to give, to make wine for the celebration and you think he didn't partake of any? So you got something to say about people who drink? It's the intention. You drink in celebrations and stuff. You drink for medicinal reasons, but you don't drink to get drunk. All these people with their opinions about people and we had to get right. We had to get right. We had to be at some point where we could be spoken to. We can hear God's voice. We had to do prayer. We had to surrender. We had to fast. We had to do all these things. So, and you're doing all these things, and it's for a reason. This short time that we live here on earth, you see how these years, because I thought it was me. I was like, man, the time is just going by. It's whizzing by. It's whizzing by. Like these last few years, especially after the pandemic, time was just whizzing by. And I talked to my daughter. My daughter's 22 years old. She's like, no, Mama, it's not just you. She said, time is going fast. Time is winding up. Time is winding down, y'all. Get what you need. Get what you need. When I think about it, it's like you talk about the weapons of your warfare, and it's also, matter of fact, that was the ministry of a very dear pastor that we were up under him until he got sick and passed away, and that was Kenneth Scott. And then equipping the saints. The saints have to be equipped. You can't. You can say you're a saint, and then you out there and you vulnerable. You're helpless because you hadn't been equipped. Equipping the saints is a ministry by Joseph Hanna, and he's in Florida. I forgot what part of Florida, but when I think about it, those two men went through a whole lot. They had seen a whole lot in life, but somehow, some way, God saw fit for them to be his messengers. And they're out there. Pastor Scott has passed on, but Pastor Hannah, as far as I know, is still out there doing missionary work and doing the work of God. We all have a place in God's kingdom. We need to set ourselves up to receive where it is that we're supposed to be. There are things that you may end up wearing more than one hat. Just make sure that you are humble. It is not about your position. It's about where God has esteemed you to be. I know I'm making this long, but I just felt like it was some things that needed to be said. I'm gonna say some more stuff later, but for what was going on in the past, man, all of that happened this Sunday. One happened in Alabama, one happened in Texas. But those two church had situations. One was violent and one that was perceived to have been potentially violent. But I believe that young man was there to get his soul saved and turn his life over to God. But anyway, I love y'all. Y'all be blessed. Take what you can glean from the word. That's a biblical word. I know everybody don't know what it means. Take what it is that you can use take from what I said what you can use. And I don't know what part you can't use, but you might not want to take my personal opinion, but because it's mine. But, take what you can glean from this. And y'all be blessed.